I hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. I'm loving my life. You're watching The Breakup with Count BTC, Nolan Bowerly. Sorry for being late. It took me a few minutes to get set up this morning. I think this is the latest I've ever been, so apologies. Sorry to make you wait, everyone. B for victory. Bon matin. Good morning, Bitcoiners. Hassan. Good morning, indeed. Lightning Ven. Coffee's hot. The weather is not. Good morning from Minnesota. We love it. Muslim Bitcoiner. Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're doing great, my man. Christine. Good morning. Just 1 second. Aqualodge. Hope you're doing great. Good morning. Good morning, Ben. Good morning, team. Hands are numb from the cold, but I got Bitcoin to warm the soul. We like that. That's pretty. We love it. It's cold in Florida. I heard that. Muslim Bitcoiner. Assalamu alaikum. Trump winning Iowa while his defamation case looms. How rare to have an ex-president run again while being on trial and win the Republican side. Woohoo! Isn't it funny? We'll talk about that a bit. Robert, good morning. We got a sun. We got a peace. We got coffee. We love it. Tom, good morning. Coffee and sun. Jason, good morning, and the peace. We love the peace. John Galt, hope you're doing great, my man. Indeed, I would shake your hand. Good morning if I was around. David, good morning, Bitcoiners. Sets for life. Good morning, fellow accelerators. We are all accelerators. Indeed, we love the accelerate. We love accelerating. We love it. Good morning, John. Gray Fur reminding us that Sunrise Tech is super operational. Rumble doesn't work. Oh no. Let's see what's going on with stupid Rumble. Sometimes Rumble just takes a second though. Stream, it says we're good. It says we're streaming. No, we're not. Oh no, we are. It should come in. Let me have a look. Let me have a quick look to make sure. I think there is a tiny bit of a lag with Rumble. So just judging on from what I've seen from the let's see what's up. Yeah, we're good. We're there. We go. Now it does work. Yeah, there. Thanks a lot, Sluggo. But don't ever hesitate to do that, please, because as I've said, it's one of the biggest disappointments to me when Rumble doesn't engage. It like anger. Very few things make me angry. That's one of them. Morning breakup team, morning Huddle T. Hope it's going great. My name is Good Morning Freaks. Bud, hope you're doing great. David Moore, good morning from London Heathrow on my way to Amsterdam, a great city. I can't wait to go back there. Sluggo, Rumble doesn't work, but we figured it out. Howdy, Deb, Bitcoin Deb. Let me just acknowledge, as we've already seen in some of these comments, the Sunrise Tech is totally operational today. We had a sunrise here, a little gray today where I am, but that's okay. I mean, we get enough sun here. I'm not worried about it, right? I heard people talking about cold Florida. You know, people where I am, when they go to Florida, they're like, oh, I don't know about going up north. So Sunrise is working, right? We got no problems with the sun. Bitcoin is running just fine. So all that's left to do is have a coffee and talk about what's new. Slightly cold coffee today. I didn't need to make a new one before, but that's fine. We've got a great Moscow time today. Right? The Moscow time is, oh no, what's going on here? Oh, no. I knew there was another problem. What a piece of shit. What a complete piece of junk. My notes are not here the way they're supposed to be. Let me get them. Stupid Apple album iCloud tech not operational. The sun running much better than this shit. Like, what's up? Okay. I guess I'm going to have to send all of them. Okay, I hope this works. Probably won't, but we'll see. Probably won't. Sorry about this, team. Yeah, long time no see. One of those mornings, yes. Indeed. Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, like, can we just move a little faster with this Bitcoin revolution thing? Because I can't take another year of shitty Apple products. Can we just make things that work? Please, please. That's all I ask for. That's all I want. I just want a thing that says it'll do what it says. Like share an album between, like, I pay for this fucking thing. Ah. And how hard is it for these stupid devices to figure out how to function together? I mean, it normally works, but how is it that it doesn't work sometimes? It doesn't make any sense. All right, I guess I gotta fucking do it on my fucking phone. Fuck. All right, now it'll work. Apparently it's working. Apparently we're gonna get somewhere. Oh, but this is cute. They're all out of order. Oh, that's fun. Great. Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted all my fucking notes all out of fucking order. That's exactly what I hoped for. Great. I got what I wanted. Nothing in the right fucking place. God damn it. What the fuck? Sorry about all the swearing. Yeah, I'm going to wing it. Unreal. Unfucking real. All right. Sorry, guys. Really sorry. It drives me crazy. All right. So Fauci did one of those mornings, coffee cup leaked on my chill. I know. Good rant. Okay. All right. Love the tech rage. I know you guys like it. One day we are going to shoot some of this. When we get back to America and we get our guns, I'm going to shoot this stuff. I'm going to shoot it with my gun. Okay. I'm going to shoot the fucking computers, the printers, all of it. It's all getting shot. I can't deal with this. All right. So now that my notes are completely out of fucking order and they're all useless to me, so this is shit. This is garbage. I can't even fucking use my iPad. I'm not even going to keep trying to use it. Okay. Now I'm going to read it off my phone like an idiot. Okay. I'm going to read it all off my phone. So, but they're funny. They're funny. At least they're funny. Okay. So remember Fauci the other day? Fauci was, he went to Congress and had to testify. That's where he was like, it just sort of happened. It just happened. Like, that was his excuse for the mandates and stuff. It just happened, right? But I haven't really gone through all the details of everything he said. There's been a lot going on, but a new headline has come out from it. It's a pretty good one. Okay, so Fauci, he's a doctor, right? Fauci's a doctor. Remember that, right? You sometimes forget he's a doctor. Like you forget, right? But apparently, as a doctor, this is what he said. Fauci tells House COVID panel he's not convinced kids suffered learning loss due to pandemic school closures. He's not convinced. He's not convinced. Okay. This one's good too. This is the Washington Post. You remember Fanny Willis? She's been having sexual relations with one of the lawyers on the case. He's getting divorced now because of Fanny. And so Fanny's got to go and testify in the divorce proceeding. So we talked a little bit yesterday about how Fanny said, it's not fair to really keep her to a high standard and break up marriages. She's a sinner. It's all true. Fanny's totally right about that. So I'm defending Fanny here. But what we are talking about is the Washington Post talking about her boyfriend, Nathan Wade, the one who was paid more than any of her other witnesses and then got paid to collude with the White House for hours and hours and hours about how to get Trump in trouble. So Washington Post here talking about his legal career, why he earned so much money as a lawyer. So here's what it is. A close examination of Nathan Wade's legal career, as well as interviews with those who have known him for years, reveals a respected attorney. He's respected. Active in public life, but with one little experience comparable to the Trump case. So they find a way to make it Trump's fault. It's Trump. It's Trump, guys. It's pretty good. Now you've got Elon Musk, right? What do we know about Business Insider? What do we know about Business Insider, right? We know that Business Insider is a magazine that some people say just publishes propaganda and it's not really out there for the news. So they had this one: Elon Musk put the brakes on AI development at Tesla until he gets more control. So it was all about his control, right? And Elon replied, "Never believe anything written by Business Insider. That fake publication is not worth reading at all. Utter trash." They also printed a whole article on John Oliver responding to Elon Musk. So the headline is, "John Oliver claps back at Elon Musk. That's a thin skin." So imagine John Oliver as a comedian. Otherwise, you'd never hear his jokes otherwise. And his joke is, Elon's got thin skin, but he needs Business Insider to republish his shitty jokes. So, but they make it here. I wouldn't have any content. If his jokes weren't being filtered through Business Insider, I would never know what John Oliver says. So you got to thank Business Insider. I would never know. So here's the whole article. John Oliver told TMZ that Elon Musk has a thin skin. Musk has been beefing with Oliver, and the comedian mocked him on Last Week Tonight. He's definitely sensitive. That's a biological fact, John Oliver told TMZ. I mean, I really do look forward to watching John Oliver's career progress. I think it's going to be hilarious. I think, himself and his jokes, they're not going to make it anymore. But just him, like as a person going through what he's about to go through in life with Trump and everything, it's going to be funny. Either he's making jokes about everyone going to concentration camps and getting re-educated, and he finds a funny way to make that funny, or he ends up in one himself. So either way, we're going to have a good time with John Oliver. We're not going to let it go. We love John Oliver, right? He's one of the funniest people that Business Insider needs to retweet ever, right? So we love him. We love him. Now, I got a special takeover for Moscow Time today. Marty Bent did a thread on all the dumb shit people said at WEF. I think we could do this every day now. But so Marty Bent, who everyone knows, right? Everyone knows Marty. So Marty has kept a collection of headlines here from all of the people speaking at WEF. So the first one, right? So here's Marty Bent, going to keep a thread on the insane totalitarianism coming out of Davos this week. So this is just from yesterday, okay? This is just from yesterday at Davos, right? Where all the smart people are. We'll start with John Kerry stating that elected leaders won't be able to stop insane climate hysteria policies if they want to. Indeed, John Kerry has this whole quote where he's up on stage. A few other people copied it. Chief Nerd got the exact thing, the exact quote. And by the way, John Kerry, it looks like he's missing, since Epstein Island's closed, he's not really getting the adrenochrome anymore. So he's looking like he needs a vampire boost. Something's wrong with that guy, right? He's looking more deathly than ever, He needs some of that blood. He needs some of that kid blood because he ain't looking good, right? He looked like shit. He looked like he flew commercial economy all the way to Davos. But here's what he says. This is what he went to Davos to say, okay? If you wound up with a different president who is opposed to climate crisis, I got news for you. No one politician anywhere in the world can undo what is happening now. The only issue for all of us is not whether or not we can get or will get to a low carbon, no carbon economy globally. No carbon economy. We will. The only question is, will we get there in time to meet the challenge of the scientists in order to avoid the worst consequences of this crisis? That is what is at stake. Thanks, John Kerry. Okay, so it gets better. There's more than just John Kerry. This is just a warm-up, all right? So Lord Ursula explaining how governments are going to unabashedly censor speech to make sure there's no wrong thing that leads to the public, that leads to the public. So Ursula, the EU, the president. The president of Indeed was up there. She was out, she was one of the keynotes, and she's up there like, number one problem, misinformation. It's X, it's disease X, right? What we were talking about yesterday. So that was there. This one's good too. John Evans, right? Marty says some dude named John Evans getting all horned up over social credit scoring systems that are being worked on. Are you ready to be tagged and tracked, maggot? So he is indeed up there. I saw this clip of this guy. He's like, we're working on that. We got this thing that if you buy shit and your carbon credit's too high, boom, you're done. You're not buying it. So John Evans. Doubt his Bitcoin stack is that high, but John Evans real pumped. He's got a big boner over social credit scores. Imagine. And then there's this other guy that everyone's been talking about him all day. He just was out there saying New World Order right now. I don't really care about the New World Order meme and New World Order this and New World Order that. But you'd think at about this time, people at the WEF would know that everyone thinks that they're running this New World Order system. So you'd think they'd like find another way to say New World Order. Nope, not this guy, right? So he's out there asking, we are on the way to a new world order, the WEF president declares, and InfoWars and everyone talking about the new world order being used as a quote. Indeed, go back to John Evans, right? We'll be monitoring your travels, meals, online activities. This is John Evans bragging about everything they're going to monitor. We love them. What would we do without these people? Then you obviously you had Stoltenberg or whatever, the NATO guy, right? And that's the, we need war in order to achieve peace. So he's going on about Ukraine, right? We need war. Of course, we remember the one we talked about yesterday, that Twitter is too toxic, the name, remember that girl from Princeton? You get this other one here, governments and court. So this one's great, right? This one's great. Governments and corporations must work together. Okay. Forgetting that that's fascism for a second. Okay. Governments and corporations must work together to brute force the climate change agenda down the commoners' throats. That's what Marty added for emphasis, right? Bill Gates was there talking about all the new vaccines. We've got patches coming. Right? You're going to have patches. So that was there. And of course, social media companies must censor users to protect the reputation of our elections. That was one of the things actually said at Davos yesterday. Shaping the new world order, that was all there, blah, blah, blah. But it all, oh yeah, this one's good too. This is Jojo Mehta, right? Jojo Mehta. She's wants to stop ecocide. Ecocide is like cutting your grass and cutting trees and fishing and farming. Of course, it's ecocide, right? So she's one of the first to finally like clue in, wait a minute. She was sitting there, right? I do this to people, like I've got some brain damaged people in my family that are like vegetarians and stuff like that. And I'll tell them, you like rabbits, kiddo? You like rabbits, Well, you like carrots? Guess who also likes carrots, right? Guess what happens to all the rabbits around a carrot farm? That didn't work out so well for them, right? If anyone's ever tilled soil, it's carnage. Like it's absolute carnage. I got some cornfields around me at my farm in Vermont. You know what happens when the harvest machines come through in the autumn? Well, about a day later, you get buzzards and you get all of the vultures, we call them turkey vultures, that start circling all these fields, because what's in the fields but bones and bodies of deer and foxes and everything. Like everything gets torn up by these things. So the idea, and again, I always sort of try to tell this to people who give me the, I don't eat meat for the environment, because the ones who would think about the farts of the cows and stuff like that. I'll always say, well, okay, but what we have to kill when we ranch at a cattle ranch? Nothing. You don't have to kill any rabbits. You don't have to kill anything. Like you just leave the cows and they eat the grass and it's done. Not the same when you're dealing with alfalfa sprouts and vegetables. You got to kill everything. You got to annihilate in the ground. You got to annihilate in the air. You got to annihilate everywhere. You got to fence. You got to do what you got to do in order to keep that stuff growing. So, I always present that argument to people. And of course, it just triggers cognitive dissonance. So you can't really do much with it, but people do it. But this Jojo Meta, she wants to stop farming. So she's the first person who went, these people who are worried about the environment with the cow farts, they're really leaving a lot of money on the table when it comes to pumping people full of fear. Why don't I go for all of farming? So she's just straight up saying, we're going to, you don't eat. Imagine you can't fish and farm because otherwise it's ecocide. It's ecocide. Jojo, you've got some mental illness. But when you bring up this, when we think about it, that's why I wrote the book, Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC Management. We're not actually dealing with political opinions. I used to believe that. I used to believe people had opinions and then other people had different opinions and we argue them. And then sometimes if you win enough people to your side of the argument using logic, then you'll get enough votes and you'll elect the person and your policies will come through, right? That's what I used to think. I used to think that was true. Imagine. We know now that that's absolutely not true. We understand now that what we're actually dealing with is a type of psychological warfare. And the people who are consuming too much propaganda, because whatever you see in the marketplace of ideas and the media, it's not really that. It's everything but that. It's just the spin. It's just the brainwashing. So when you're left with just the brainwashing and that's all you consume and you believe the brainwashing is reality, the only result for you is brain damage, right? You don't actually get opinions from that. You get brain damage. And, we heard from Stoltenberg or whatever his name is, the NATO guy, but we get this from Mike Benz, and this is from just a few weeks ago. This is NATO, right? Talking about cognitive warfare. This is NATO tweeting about cognitive warfare. This is what they know. They say cognitive warfare targets how we think, what we feel, and how we act using brain-centered technologies. Since 2021, using increased awareness of cognitive warfare has been a priority for NATO. Learn more about the evolving concept, right? And so they're doing it like a tweet thing, right? Like learn more about how we brainwash you and how we now realize that's the most important thing. Mike Benz coming along with that tweet saying, no biggie, just NATO casually tweeting about its literal war on your mind, which is, I think, becoming more and more obvious. And I think is also great for Bitcoin. Now, I make this contrast all the time. The US dollar is a psychological commodity. Bitcoin is a psychological commodity. The economy that we understand, the socio-political economy that's out there, is a psychological engine. How this thing perpetuates forward has a lot to do with the psychology of the people perpetuating it. In all cases, Bitcoiners versus the sludge people. So when you start to see, and it's why I've been sort of underlining and hammering this point home, that we don't really need to think of this in terms of democracy. Like we don't need the same amount of people to be Bitcoiners versus fiat in order to win. We just need the smarter people, the people with a better psychology, the people with a stronger psychology in order to perpetuate forward. One of the things that I'm most proud of, I guess you could say, in my time in Bitcoin or whatever, and it wasn't even something that I personally did. Like I can't even really take responsibility for the results. But here's something. When Bitcoin Magazine was organizing the 2021 Bitcoin show in Miami, and if you remember 2021, what it was like, you couldn't meet, you couldn't go out in public. It was total lockdown time. Now, I was still advising CoinDesk at the time that they needed to be the first event in the world to come out of lockdowns, and that the only place they could plan that was Miami, because Miami would allow it to be planned. And so I kept saying, and the people at CoinDesk would say, well, why do we have to be the first? And I'd say, well, it's not that you have to be. I'm not trying to send a signal that we're the first. What I will say is that Bitcoiners have had the least amount of adjustment to the 2020 pandemic. It was within our worldview. We were the least surprised, and we were the most aware of the frame we were being put into because of the repo markets and because of money and because of understanding that the tire was about to blow. We understood something big was coming in 2019 because of what was going on in the banks. And we could see it with the protests that were in Hong Kong. We could see it at the time in 2019 with the protests that were in Germany. The thing was going one way or the other, and either the banks would print a lot or they would not print and the thing would collapse. But they needed an excuse to print. So we were saying there's going to be a reason they're going to print. And we didn't know anything about COVID or viruses or anything like that. But suddenly this thing came and you had this opportunity. So what I said was, because Bitcoiners had the least amount of adjustment to COVID, because they had the biggest understanding of where we actually were in the narrative, irrespective of the virus being deadly or real or whatever, right? And it was a real virus that got out. People did die. I was in New York. I saw people dying, right? So, but the difference was Bitcoiners had the least amount of adjustment and would be the first people in the world willing to meet in public without masks or vaccines or anything like that. And indeed we were, right? So if you remember Bitcoin 2020, so my convincing CoinDesk didn't work. They waited a full another year to do their event. But within those conversations, Bitcoin Magazine embraced, whether it was my idea or not, I don't think it was my idea, but they embraced that idea and totally got on board with this thought that Bitcoiners being adjusted to the reality of 2021 were already at war. And if you remember, that's where Bukele announced his Bitcoin balance sheet stuff for the country, and then there would be legal tender and all of that stuff. So it was a very influential show. And to this day, remember, it is the first show on planet Earth, the first gathering of human beings on planet Earth since the pandemic lockdowns happened. So that was a big endorsement of what I'm saying right now, which is that the psychological engine of Bitcoiners was stronger. We had the least amount of adjustment. We had the least amount of confusion. We had the least amount of stress overall as a community. And that's why we were the first to be able to meet in public without any of the restrictions or worries or anything like that. So that already showed. And I think that sort of thing is going to continue. That Bitcoiners, with our own psychological state being adjusted to the reality that we're in, we have the least amount of adjustment to do going forward. And that's why we do a lot of predictions here on the show, because doing those predictions allows us to sort of calibrate and get a sense of where we are right now. And it helps increase your psychological dexterity and durability with all of this shit going on around us. As you know, even for example, I think that public gatherings might be influenced in 2024. In the same way that we weren't allowed to meet publicly because of the virus in 2020 for the election, I think that there might be violence this time. And that might be the reason why no one meets in public in 2024. All these football games becoming, a ton of attention, Taylor Swift all of a sudden at the football games. What's going on there, right? We know the virus with the Pfizer and the vaccine and all that stuff, but are all these football games in America going to be okay? I don't know. I mean, I was talking about, Alex Jones was going on about the sports ballers last night. Now, at once you kind of need the bread and circuses to continue. So I'm not sure I'm right about this. That's what Alex Jones was complaining about yesterday, saying that the sports ballers getting involved in the drama of football while their country is being stolen, invaded, whatever, is a trick. And it's an important one. Now, they would risk, if they threaten public gatherings and sports things, you're threatening to get rid of the bread and circuses piece. However, things are getting desperate on that end, and you can't imagine that all this public gathering is going to be okay. But I still believe if public gatherings are threatened, again, Bitcoiners will continue to meet up. And this will be a big advantage that we have. I don't think we're going to be afraid to meet up. And I think a place like Nashville, right? You get the gun laws that exist in the South, not going to be as easy to attack these areas as it would be in the North, right? In the North, I mean, if you walked into the MetLife Stadium in New York, probably take a while before anyone stops you if you had bad intentions and you were weaponized, right? If you had a drone fly up in there, it could cause a lot of damage. And I don't think they're shooting back, right? In Nashville, they're shooting back. Right? You're not putting a drone firing down on a helpless population. There's going to be shooting back. So, that's what's going on. So this psychological engine, right, and understanding that World War III is a psychological battlefield. It's psychological. Whether or not the hot wars continue in Gaza, in Ukraine, or now we've got the Red Sea, whether or not these hot wars continue, I don't know. I think so, a little bit. I don't think we're going to erupt into a World War III total situation. But Trump addressing that last night, by the way, in New Hampshire, saying, and I think this is, he hasn't really taken out that talking point yet. I don't know if you know, we're going to talk about Trump more later, but Trump coming up with this new campaign slogan that he is the only one that can stop World War III and promising there won't be a World War III if he's president. Very powerful, very effective, right? Really good stuff. So hearing him hone in on that is much better than, it's these ones that Joe Biden has now. He's going on the rape one, right? He's like, you have a choice between the rapist and the not rapist. Choose or the rapist or the victim, right? He's trying to go. This is the E. Jean Carroll case, right? This was the one where Trump wasn't even allowed yesterday to go with Melania, whose mother just died this week. Like, he's banned from even going. And remember this, Eugene. So if you go, I was looking for fake news this morning on Washington Post and these other places, and everyone in the comments. So when they write about the case yesterday, the E. Jean Carroll case, they have to write Trump's alleged rape of E. Jean Carroll, because this case has nothing to do with the rape. It's defamation. This is the case where Trump was calling her a liar and all these things about the rape, and she's suing him for that. The rape thing didn't go anywhere, right? That was a no. So, and it didn't happen. So the case here, that's why whenever you read people referring to it, the Washington Post has to write Trump's alleged rape. And then yesterday, the judge actually told the jury that Trump did rape this person, and Trump reacted to that. And all the Associated Press, those were all fake news stories. Trump gasps when they say he raped the woman because the judge got it wrong. The judge got it wrong. We're literally dealing with a case here where Trump is dealing with the defamation for saying she's a liar about raping him, which the courts found. That's the case. It's not whether he raped her or not. That's long gone. We're dealing with just the defamation piece, right? So it's not exactly what people think. I had some people who were bringing that up, right? It's and everyone bringing up Trump shared that one where she's like, most people think that being raped is sexy. You remember that one where Anderson Cooper was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And so Fisher King here writes, denying that you raped someone is now defamation. This is what the penalty phase of the Jean Carroll is about. How much more money Trump has to pay for denying he did something. That's actually what we're talking about here, right? So, which is hilarious, right? Totally hilarious. So, go back to the cognitive warfare piece, right? So NATO admitting that this is one of their big planks of World War III, this cognitive battlefield, that we are dealing with battlefield brain at this point. And Schellenberger wrote exactly about this yesterday on his Substack. His headline on his Substack yesterday was "Elite Psychopathology Driving Democrats' Soft Coup Attempt." And he brings up a picture of Podesta and of course, what's her name with the glasses? What's her name? Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow, right? So just listen to this, right? So he says, in order to prevent fascism, we must incarcerate, censor, and prevent Donald Trump from running for office, say the media, Democrats, and NGOs. They are thus undermining democracy in the name of saving it. Elites are in the grip of what is best understood as a kind of madness. Indeed, that's where this brainwashing has brought them to. Now, I don't think Rachel Maddow has been brainwashed. She's on the other end of the brainwashing dialogue, right? She's a brainwasher. So it's not the same thing. And that's why she did the thing where she, the other night, Trump wins and she tries to do her tough broad, like, I won't let Trump spread lies. So Trump's actual victory speech 2 nights ago on MSNBC was cut. They wouldn't show it. And her reason was he lies. Now, which politician in America doesn't lie? Which one is it? There isn't. It's 100%. 100% of politicians lie. Like You can expect it, right? The ones we love lie. RFK lies sometimes. Not, I wouldn't, him and Vivek, I would say, are on the low end of lying. Trump lies all the time. He's a liar. Like, what are you talking about, right? I know that. I love him, and I would say his lies are the least damaging type of lie, right? A Trump lie is generally an exaggeration. It's directionally true, but it's sort of not exactly true, right? We know that. He's a hype guy, right? Of course he exaggerates. Of course there's an exaggeration there. Biden, on the other hand, lies even much more, obviously, than Trump, I would say. But they're very dangerous lies. It's like Charlottesville. Imagine the current president is telling you that the previous president thinks that Nazis are fine people. He says that's the reason he ran. It's the number one reason why he ran, he says, which we know is not true. And he knows it's not true. Well, not anymore. He doesn't know it's true. One day there was a time in his life where he knew that wasn't true, right? And anyone who knows and pays 1 second of attention to what's going on can tell that the Trump Charlottesville story is one of the most debunked fake news, completely astroturfed fake stories that ever existed. I mean, it's completely fake. So seeing the people continue to consume these stories, imagine if you believed what the brainwashers tell you, right? And there are a lot of people who do. That's where this cognitive warfare thing comes in. There are people out there, and that's why I continue to give this small amount of space, right? And the reason why, as Bitcoiners, we should never talk about the 2020 election in terms of they cheated and they got their win because they cheated this way, and I know, and the ballots and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Putin said it yesterday, right? Putin said that the 2020 election was all postal mail-in voting cheating. That's more accurate to me, right? I don't think it was, it might be, but it doesn't matter. But if you had everyone brainwashed into thinking Hitler was going to get reelected in Germany, it would be up to each individual who believed the brainwashing to enact their own countermeasures. And those might involve a scaling of millions of people signing out ballots for their neighbors and stuff like that. That is a possibility, right? You have to realize that there is a world where Biden did get 80 whatever million votes because of the amount of hatred for Trump, which was totally fake. So there was I'm not saying there wasn't election interference, 100% was. The election interference happened way before the election with the fake stories, Russia collusion, all that drinking bleach hoax, the Charlottesville hoax, all the hoaxes together created this situation where you would imagine that the brainwashed, brain damaged people would want to cheat a little bit, according to exactly what Schellenberger is saying here, right? In order to save democracy, they've got to do all these terrible things. That wouldn't be hard to trick people into doing at all, right? And indeed, that's what happened, right? So yesterday, with a straight face, right, MSNBC's Rachel Maddow explained she could not air Trump's historic landslide victory speech in Iowa because MSNBC cannot broadcast untrue things, right? Now, everyone yesterday did a list of all the untrue things Rachel Maddow has broadcast in her career. It's obviously a huge list. So it goes on and on and on and on, right? So, people say worst case scenario, this is from 2028, right? She actually said this, worst case scenario that the president is a foreign agent suddenly feels very palpable, right? She said that. So the good news here is that more and more we're understanding that World War III is a psychological battlefield. And the good news for us Bitcoiners is our psychology is the strongest. And it's one of the reasons why we're going to win this fight, because the people who are brainwashed, they're just not strong enough. The test of getting brainwashed is almost an IQ test at this point. Now, there are smart people getting brainwashed too. So I don't want to say it's exactly an IQ test. There are still smart people getting brainwashed all the time. And falling for the Rachel Maddow stuff, but fewer and fewer, less and less, and it's starting to concentrate in high IQ, low IQ categories, and that's a good thing for us, right? So, with the, as Schellenberger said, this psychopathology of saving democracy in order to destroying democracy in order to save democracy, right? We're seeing it play out across systems, right? The legal system, you get the Jack Smith story, right? So Jack Smith yesterday getting torched by another court, right, about what he did. So here's what we hear from the DC Appellate Court. Jack Smith, of course, this is the, I think it's the Georgia case. It could be the Boxes hoax. I always forget which one he's involved in. I think it's the Boxes hoax. He's the Boxes hoax guy, right? The steely-eyed Jack Smith. So DC Appellate Court just delivered a scorching smackdown of special counsel. This is from Julie Kelly. Judge Beryl Howell and Judge Florence Penn for search of Trump's Twitter files. So this is, remember when they took possession of Trump's Twitter account and went into his DMs and looked through things? Here's what they say. The special counsel's approach obscured and bypassed any assertion of executive privilege and dodged the careful balance Congress struck with the Presidential Records Act, right? So again, we have another case here of just steamrolling over democratic checks and balances, making these people as dictatorial and totalitarian as we can imagine. It's kind of perfect, right? It's kind of perfect if you're being honest about what we're seeing. So from there, you can get to where the psychopathology things yesterday, anyway, I think changed big time. And it's just watching. So last night I watched a bit of Trump in New Hampshire, right? So it was a lot of fun yesterday watching all the mental breakdowns and all the brain damaged people. Oh, Trump, blah, blah, blah. So in those instances, I like watching him because he's funny, right? He's really good at gloating. He's really good. He's a really good winner, right? So he's up there winning. And so I'm watching. And then guess who shows up? Vivek, right? So Vivek shows up yesterday. And what I saw from the two of them on stage, I hadn't really computed before. And it's something that I didn't mention yesterday, but going forward now, you're in for a lot of fun because here's what's up. So going back to this idea of the psychopathology and it's a battlefield for the brain. And we can all admit that we love, as much as I love Donald Trump, and I love him, it's love, right? As much as I love Donald Trump, I have always been able to admit his style and his effect on other people creates Trump derangement syndrome. It creates a psychological reaction. I've always said, and I was never, even in the early Trump days, for example, I admit, and I'm okay with admitting, Trump is a bully. Okay, he's a bully, for sure. He's a bully. And I get why people who have been bullied cannot stomach him. I get it. And I would never force him on those people. You've always, if you like Trump, love Trump, or a Trump supporter or whatever, you've always got to give space for people to not like him, right? You can't force him on anyone. It's too much. It's too much, right? He's out of his mind. He's crazy. I love him, but it's a lot, right? So you got to give people space and admit the truth about Trump, right? He is a bully. Now, I wanted the bully in 2016, just like I wouldn't mind the bully today, right? But that's what he is. Now, also his word choice, the artistry with which he offends people, it's all beautiful. I love it, right? I'm a big fan of his writing. I've said a million times here, he's one of the best writers. He's one of the best comedians. He's got perfect comedic timing. He just knows how to light people's brains on fire in a good way and a bad way. And you can't be neutral on Trump, right? It's not just like intellectual tidbits. It's either shocking and offensive or hilarious and fun. But whatever it is, it's extreme. So what I saw yesterday with Vivek joining him on stage, Vivek seamlessly went on to stage with him, delivered his own things. But here's the difference between Vivek and Trump. And it's what I've said from the beginning. Vivek is a Trump surrogate. He's been using Trump's policies, shadowing a lot of Trump's opinions. But the way Vivek describes all this stuff is much better. As amazing as Trump is, Vivek is able to get to the same policy discussions without causing the derangement syndrome. he can do it without inciting the mental illness that Trump incites. Now, what you're going to see going forward with Vivek being this surrogate, and everyone's saying VP, VP, just as I said yesterday, right? He goes on stage, VP, VP, everyone's saying it. Trump, you can see Trump's genius as well. When Trump is sitting there watching him, Trump's watching Vivek. He stands right beside him on the stage, watches Vivek deliver the speech, but notices, and you can see Trump do this too. Trump, when you really watch, when in the 2015, 2016 time, when I watched every one of his speeches, you could watch him A/B test audience reactions, right? You can see that his most important thing is the amount of energy he gets back from the crowd based on the subject. I saw him doing that with Vivek. I saw him watching Vivek, and when Vivek would get a reaction, he would notice, right? So, and Vivek was getting a lot of reactions, right? A lot of reactions. So you can imagine a world where Vivek has to be his main surrogate. They won't even put Trump on television on MSNBC, but they're not going to be able to deny Vivek. Now, imagine you get Trump's policy goals, but explained from Vivek's point of view, with his skill set, with his talents. So suddenly the psychological war that we're all involved in, that we're all caught up in, and Trump has been fighting for a long time, Trump now can pivot and actually get to where he's going using Vivek to not create Trump derangement syndrome. Vivek is very dangerous to be released on that other side of the debate. If he goes on MSNBC, he could melt the entire network down. Imagine him in a one-on-one against Rachel Maddow. She can't compete. We're dealing with a different animal here, like completely different animal. And so going forward, we have at once these incredibly complicated policy problems that America is facing. Take the repo market, right? So again, we're back in 2019. Remember last time, just as I was saying, in 2019, Bitcoiners understood the peril the world was in. I could anyway, see Bitcoin, hyper-Bitcoinization as imminent because the banks were going to collapse. And so we're sitting there saying, okay, the banks have trouble. This thing's broken, that thing's broken. Okay, let's go. Let's see where this takes us, right? That summer. And you had Germany protesting. I saw what was going on in Hong Kong, right? What was going on in Hong Kong was Hong Kong in the summer of 2019 was being given back to China because of FATF money laundering rules. I mean, we literally gave away Hong Kong in order to keep the panopticon financial surveillance system going. That's how important it is. That's how important it is. And so I'm saying, I'm sitting there in the summer of 2019 saying, are we going to let Hong Kong go? Is that how corrupted the system is? That Hong Kong we can just sacrifice it in order to maintain stasis around financial surveillance? Because that's what it was about, right? If you don't know the story of Hong Kong, what happened with Hong Kong was the extradition from Hong Kong to mainland China, the laws that would allow extradition to happen, which means that Chinese law now applies to Hong Kong people, right? Because if you can extradite to the mainland, then what's the difference? You don't have to show that the Chinese law applies to Hong Kong if you have extradition. Just move the human. Don't move the law, right? That's what they did. And the justification for this from Carrie Lam, who runs Hong Kong, was that FATF had shamed Hong Kong about money laundering. So they have to be able to deport people for torture in China because you might have not signed your $10,000 waiver correctly. Really, that's what happened. It was the predicate was FATF. The very enemies of Bitcoin were the predicate for giving Hong Kong to China and letting Chinese law apply to Hong Kong. So in the summer of 2019, Bitcoiners like myself understood exactly what was going on in terms of where the battlefront was in World War III. We could see it. And the banks were one of the weak spots for us. That meant the thing was going to tip, right? And so when you see where we're at in 2019, you had Germany protesting, Angola and the immigrants. You had Hong Kong protesting with Pepe and Bitcoin and everything going on over there. You had the repo markets collapsing. You had all this stuff happening, right? And what ended up happening was COVID, and then the election changed, and then the repo went away because they had an excuse to print, and it was all beautiful, and they were so happy, and they thought it was all going to be fine. We would just get more vaccines, and we would go steal some Ukrainian energy, and we would backfill the American system with the new assets that we acquired through war, and it was going to be beautiful and great, and there'd be no troubles. You can see that the bond market. So if you go to, here we go. If you go to where we are now, everything we did since 2019 is erased. We're right back to where we were. Hong Kong is about to get dicey. Germany is popping off, right? Popping off. Europe's got all kinds of issues. And the repo market is right back where we were. And this is what we find out, right? So Professor Saint-Onge, Fed reports its largest loss in history, 114 billion in a single year. That would be the third largest bankruptcy in American history, and there's still another trillion plus in unrealized losses. So the Federal Reserve admitted they lost $104 billion, right? $114 billion. This is just the losses from paying commercial banks to park money at the Fed. This is the subsidy they're giving them. This is what I've been describing as a defibrillator for a while. This is the zombie electrification of the system to keep it alive, to keep the patient alive, right? That number doesn't even reflect potentially another trillion plus in unrealized losses on their portfolio. Of course, the Fed won't actually go bankrupt. It'll just stop paying its profits to the US Treasury, effectively converting every penny it loses into taxpayer losses. As always, with the Fed, heads they win, tails you lose. Well, I got news for you guys. I got news. There is a way to win. There's a way to win. And it involves a stronger psychological engine that understands that this thing is broken and is unfixable, but that we can actually recalibrate energy markets, we can recalibrate governments, we can actually move towards a Bitcoin standard, because this shit is unfixable. It ain't getting fixed, guys. None of it's getting fixed. The commercial banks, the Fed, it's all garbage. And we're going to get to the energy. That's why Putin was saying yesterday that Saudi Arabia being in BRICS was a priority. So they're talking about, there's like a separate WEF going on at the same time. Not a formal meeting, but that's why you're getting all these Putin quotes and all this stuff happening at the same time. Indeed, the wealthy oil-backed nations are going to get away from the monopoly of US dollar markets for oil, and you're going to have an explosion of energy systems around the world now that the petrodollar isn't the only psychological barometer for the market. Bitcoin will win when it becomes the reference rate for energy. When you see what's happening with BlackRock, for example, not wanting to be what it was before to the US government, changing based on the chaos and everything, right? They have huge stakes in what's going on over in Ukraine. They're a big part of what's going on in the war over there. And these folks are going to have to de-risk what has been created by the US government. And in order to de-risk, they're going to have to get along with some of the other people. In the end, the only way for them to get along, the BlackRocks and the other energy companies, is going to be a separate reference rate for money. The ruble won't do it. The stupid Chinese money won't do it. It's also garbage. The American money's garbage. Europe, the EU money, that's not going to do it either. So Bitcoin, unfortunately, doesn't win planet Earth because every pleb in the world wakes up and holds Bitcoin. That would be nice. It's not the way it's going. The way it's going is the rich energy companies are going to reference their industry in terms of Bitcoin, and the psychological calibration of energy markets will switch to Bitcoin, and that will be the lever to separate money and state. It's coming soon, guys. It's coming soon, and we're going to have a great time. All right. Everyone's laughing at my my tech troubles, right? We're all dead from starvation. What does the environment? Oh, that's right. They'd love to rule over the ashes. Indeed. Wilson said the same thing before World War I. I've had enough. Biden on thin ice, pointing fingers about creepy sex. It's a test. Who's paying attention? Thought everyone got bullied at some point. If they're adults, they should be able to deal with it. One would think. Vivek should be his press secretary. Tucker for VP. Tucker for VP is a problem. I think it's almost the other way around. Tucker for VP. The problem with that is that Tucker creates the same mind virus, a lesser version of it. But Vivek doesn't. So I like Vivek in an executive role, but I agree I think Vivek could do the press secretary role too. Trump, of course, said right out that he would have a big part going forward in the administration. I think he's going to work for us for a while or something like that. Anyway, let's see what's on Rumble, and then I'm out of here. I got a lot of stuff to do today. Busy days, right? We love January for being busy. It's a busy month. What do you guys think of the thumbnail today? It wasn't bad, huh? All right. Yeah, you're on Rebel just fine. Fauci lied. People died. John Fitzgerald Kennedy is a traitor. Yeah, I've met him before. Real scumbag. Nolan, you should check this guy out. Curtis Yarvin. Very interesting. I will do that. Thank you. Meji007. Smash the like button. We love it. Sharia Bitcoin, it can work on the smart ones. The intelligent ones are the Bitcoiners or God worshipping folks, I guess. Yeah. Tucker will not be a good politician, Sluggo123 says. Yeah, that's what I think. I think Tucker would be a great press secretary, but the problem is Tucker, I don't want to lend any credence to this white bashing, white men and all that stuff. I'm not a DEI guy, right? like 100% not. However, in the case that Trump is dealing with right now, Tucker is too monochromatic. Or it's not the skin color, it's the style of arguing. Trump and Tucker have the same kind of get you in a corner intellectually and then beat the shit out of you. It's like a Ben Shapiro thing too, right? Like Ben Shapiro can't be Trump's vice president. Ben Shapiro can't be in Trump's administration, right? Like it's too similar. It's like intellectual bullying, I guess, is the way you can describe it. Vivek doesn't give that vibe, right? Vivek is like clean, simple, easy, judo stuff, right? A lot of judo, like just that kind of move, right? Tucker is American, though. He sure is. Not for here. He's needed for foreign policy. Yeah, you're right about that. And so, look, I think Tucker just keeps doing what he's doing, and he's going to be just as effective to change the world. I don't think he needs an administrative spot, I guess is what I'm saying. But I've always loved Tucker. I've always been a Tucker Carlson fan. And look, I could be wrong about this. Maybe in the end it goes the way you're suggesting, or people have been suggesting Tucker VP, Tucker in the administration. It works out. I just don't think Trump gets anything out of it. You know what I mean? Like what's the plus? What's the net plus of Tucker? To me, it's a Venn, the Venn diagram is two superimposed with the two of them. I think with Vivek, you get something different. You get, and I think it is that he's able to take Trump policy and not create Trump derangement syndrome with it. He's able to actually penetrate the minds of the mentally disturbed and the mentally disabled. So that's the good news. The good news. So big institutions plus energy companies is the hyper big Bitcoinization initiation. Yeah, it's the fullest realization of the psychological commodity and the recalibration of the economy to the Bitcoin standard, right? So all the early Bitcoiners stand to benefit, of course, but the reference rate for global energy, for example, and for wealth will be Bitcoin. Like understanding how much money you have, you won't be able to do that in dollars. It won't make any sense, right? So it's the same with the energy companies. The energy companies actually got held down for years because the only reference rate for money was the West Texas price and the Brent crude price and the OPEC price measured in US dollars. That meant that because all forms of subsidy, right? The aircraft, if you don't think the aircraft carriers were subsidies for the petrodollar, then you're missing the plot, right? The aircraft carriers and the whole thing, the Red Sea and the Strait of Hormuz and all these things, that was the petrodollar. And so because the subsidy of global security and the aircraft carriers and the jets and all of that were a part of the structure around the dollar, you weren't able to make apples to apples comparisons about the net cost of nuclear energy or any of it. Like it was all just opinion. It was all sentiment. It was all feelings. And that's why most of the energy we've built that's not petro has been feelings-based energy. It's just like, oh, I want wind. It would be so nice, right? It's all brainwash energy. When you remove the brainwashing from the energy matrix and you start understanding and you start being able to measure what you need, what you don't have, like just look at what's going on right now in the United States with the cold coming through again and Bitcoin miners turning off and megawatts being re-injected into the grid. All of this stuff, all of this energy literacy is what is going to help Bitcoin make it through all of this. And it's what's going to actually result in the energy companies themselves understanding their per unit cost in Bitcoin. And once the psychology of Bitcoin used as a measuring stick for the global energy industry happens, you are starting to see why and how the state and money will separate. The energy companies shouldn't be, the energy companies are going to have to de-risk from the Joe Bidens. Once the aircraft carrier is not necessary anymore, and it's not, like it's why I've been telling you for 2 years, aircraft carriers are going to sink into the ground, into the water, into the ocean. They're gone. Forget them. They don't work. The drones, the Palmer Luckey stuff, they're going to annihilate these things. And think about a drone spraying battery acid. You don't even need bombs. You just spray acid and you melt shit, right? So now I get there's countermeasures against drones and electric fields and radio communication jamming and blah blah blah, but there's ways around that too. So and if you can build a battery acid bomb for $25, it's game over for the look at the Houthis. Look what they're doing to the ships in the Red Sea today. That's the Houthis. I mean, the Houthis, what? Who are they? Oh my God. I know who they are, but you never heard about them before. The cost of entering these conflicts has just gone way down. So that's a big change, right? I just go with whoever is preaching more peace, less war. Vivek is weak on Israel. Tucker, see through or at least don't care to enable Israel. We can protect Israel and not fund their expansion. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Israel is more just petrodollar hegemony. I think so, yeah. If Palestine could export their own oil, that would work better for Bitcoin. Well, I know. I mean, the whole oil thing is going to end, right? Not end totally. You'll need it for rockets, and you'll need it for Nordic travel, and traveling in the north will still have gasoline, snowmobiles, all that kind of stuff. But we are going to get nuclear energy at scale in America. It's going to be the number one source for your delivery trucks and your all that kind of stuff. So that I think is coming. I think it's coming. Not the Tesla version, I don't think, for electric vehicles, not the magnets and all that stuff. I think Toyota's solid state batteries are going to do it. I haven't bought a brand new car in many, many years. Maybe next year I'll buy a new Toyota. There's a chance. I'm going to check these new engines out when they come out. But we'll see. All right. That's all I got for today, guys. I hope you're doing great. I hope everyone has a great day. I'll see y'all tomorrow. It's going to be another great one. We're having a great time. Peace. And remember, the battlefield brain, everyone. We got stronger brains. They got, their brains are broken. It's not working for them. All right.